My
Secretary
God.
Betsy DeVos sat down with 60 Minutes last night, and it really seems like she don't, she didn't do her homework. She's just not on top of stuff. Look, just take a look.
Have the public schools in Michigan gotten better?
I don't know. Overall, I can't say overall that they have all gotten better.
Have you seen the really bad schools? Maybe try to figure out what they're doing?
I have not intentionally visited schools that are underperforming.
Maybe you should.
Maybe I should, yes.
Yeah, maybe you should.
Wow.
So, call me crazy, but what's she been doing this whole time?
Wow.
I don't know.
Well, the scary thing is she was in her home state of Michigan.
Yeah.
Yes.
And hasn't visited her own state's schools. And what is so upsetting to me is that education was the great equalizer for me. I've often said I was the kid from the South Bronx, but I was smart. And I was in the books, and my parents did everything to make sure I went to good schools. And it's the only reason I'm sitting here today and not a statistic. And so when you think about the head of the education department responsible for really our children's lives, not being qualified to lead those lives and to lead the education, it hurts me to my core because kids like me don't have a chance with Betsy DeVos as the person taking care of their education.
But Sonny, you're lucky.
No chance.
You're lucky because you had parents that
Yes.
took the time to
And my
get
mom's
involved.
a teacher.
Well, and
That's
one of the problems
the
here
same
is when
race.
you look at taking money from public schools and putting it into charter schools or private schools, there is a group of children that barely gets to school with breakfast in them.
Yes.
You know, you can't assume that every parent is going to be able to research these places. That's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of legwork. So ultimately, who this is going to hurt is the most underprivileged young people that are already struggling.
Of course.
But wait, one more thing real quickly. The other thing is, after the confirmation hearings and how much struggle she had getting in and people saying you weren't prepared, that part, you forgive her once, but you don't forgive her twice.
No.
The idea that she did not research a lot of this before sitting down with Leslie Stahl.
Yes.
I'd
Yeah.
at least have a cheat sheet.
Does
with
she
some
not
stats on it.
care?
Well,
Does she
Trump-
not
Well,
care?
remember, Trump had remember he had a cheat sheet that said, I hear you. She should have had some little cheat sheet
Just
like
some
that.
numbers or something. Yeah.
This is what I want to say. I had brunch yesterday with a good friend of mine who actually works in conservative education policy. And there are great people that are working hard to try and explain why I am in agreement school vouchers actually have a lot of positivity. And I want to say the U.S. spends over $620 billion on K-12 education, but our students are behind every other advanced industrial nations when it comes to test scoring. The most recent program for international student assessment placed the U.S. at an unimpressive 38 out of 71 countries in math and science. So there are arguments and conversations to be had about school choice and mechanisms for improving schools, including public schools. This woman, unfortunately, right now, for whatever reason, again, we should just put my friend Inez in front of Leslie Stahl because there are arguments to be had. We are not doing well in education. My good friend works in conservative education policy who I had brunch with yesterday morning.
Right.
And I think that there are ways where we can have better spokespeople explaining our ideology. And it is endlessly frustrating to see someone who's in charge of this go on TV in front of Leslie Stahl and basically say, I don't know anything about my home state.
Because she doesn't know.
But I
Well,
don't know if she doesn't know or she
but should
choked.
we-
And I don't know the answer
but
to
She
that.
doesn't know.
So interesting in what you said in terms of ideology. I thought nobody wanted ideology taught in schools.
Policy.
Oh,
And how you view education, how you view government spending on education. I
But
just
isn't
said.
it a fact
No,
that when
I
you-
understand.
Well, let me ask this.
I'm glad you cleared that up because that's not what I heard. So I'm glad, because I heard you say ideology and I missed the other part.
My
Just when I-
understanding is
yeah.
that when you do a charter school, though, you do take some money away from the public schools.
But-
Am I
Yes,
right?
you do.
That seems to be the
So
problem.
the
She didn't
Milwaukee-
address that at all.
The
Well, she
Milwaukee
couldn't.
voucher program dropped felony convictions from 79% versus a matched public school, and drug crime convictions were down 93%. And again, this is a difference in your perspective on how you want money spent on government. It is a valid argument to be had. It's a valid debate to be had. But when we have someone like her on,
it may be, but the real issue here is the woman in
Is
charge.
the woman
That's the
responsible
problem.
for it? And if
It's
you
not
think
even
about it,
the idea.
when you think about the people that President Obama put in, I mean, he has Arnie Duncan, who had just a plethora of experience. He was the CEO of the Chicago Public Schools. He actually was a public school superintendent. And then John King, the other person that he had in the job, had a doctorate in education, a law degree, was a principal
I'm
of
not
a charter school.
disagreeing
These
on
are
that.
people with education.
I think maybe
Why
agrees
doesn't he
she's not.
do that?
You do agree she's
conceding
not
that point.
qualified, right?
Yeah.
She's not. She does a lot of work in charter. This wouldn't be my choice for this job. And I think if you cannot go in front of media and explain in sound bites your policy, the ideology in this,
what you want to see.
Or
then
Yeah.
you
You know
shouldn't be
what?
qualified
Maybe
for
she
that
doesn't
job.
have to because she knows she's backed by Trump and she has a lot of money. So she's like, whatever.
But right now, it is affecting, because right now we're having a conversation where we're talking about how she biffed it in front of a national Leslie Stahl of all people,
Yeah.
when again, people like me, people like my friend Inez, have a wildly different take on government spending when it comes to public schools, and we're resulted with this, and it's deeply
but even
frustrating.
before-
Who cares what she does on television?
when you talk
It's
about
about
the-
what she's doing in the job.
Halt, we're coming right back.